Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Whatcom County Council meeting for July 26, 2016. If I can get all my papers straightened out here. Please call the roll.
Barbara Brenner,
Here.
Rudd Brown,
Here.
Barry Buchanan,
Here.
Todd Donovan, Ken Mann,
Here.
Paul Sadoo,
Here.
Carl Weimer.
Here. Okay. Please rise and join me for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a couple quick housekeeping announcements. Please, if you have your cell phone with you, put it on vibrate or off. And if you'll be handing out any paperwork to council members, please include our staff so we have one for our records. We have 3 sets of minutes to approve tonight. The first one is Special Committee of the Whole for May 31st, 2016, Special County Council for June 14th, 2016, and Regular County Council for June 14th, 2016. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any corrections, additions, or deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes unanimously. We'll move into our public hearing. Audience members who signed up at the back of the room prior to the beginning of our meeting, you will be called first to testify, and we'll ask that you form a line. If you are unable to sign up, that's okay. We will make accommodations for you as even if you didn't. Each speaker should state his or her name for the record and will be given 3 minutes to address the council. Council staff will be keeping track of time, and at 30 seconds they will give you a warning, and then at the end of the 3 minutes they will call time. So our public hearing tonight is on a petition to create the Columbia Valley Park and Recreation District. So I will open the public hearing. We have several people signed up tonight. First one is Vern Yaden.
That's good.
Was that right?
You're right.
Thank you.
I am Vern Yaden. I'm the pastor of Kendall Chapel and also the chairman of the board of the Kendall Columbia Valley Plan Association, planning that trail along 547. And I want to also say that I'm a member of the Whatcom County Parks and Recreation Commission that has endorsed this proposal unanimously. But I'm here to speak just as a resident to tell you that I feel like that we are in part of a new birth or a renaissance in the Kendall Columbia Valley area. We have had citizen participation in many, many projects. And we have a new roundabout, we have a new library, a relatively new library, a new regional resource center, and we have new houses being built in the area, and we do not have a park. No parks within 8 miles of 4,000 residents. And so the committee has gotten together and has gathered petitions to put this on the ballot. And we're just asking that you would give us your approval to put this on the ballot and allow us to tax ourselves to have a parking district and establish parks that our citizens and our children can walk to. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, you may.
One question. I thought some of the land around the resource center was designated, I mean, not that it's what you're talking about, but as.
Well, I think they talked in terms of a soccer field, but
Right.
there is no
Nothing happened.
nothing.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, the next speaker is Peter Powell.
That's a mistake. I thought that was his approval.
Okay. Glenn Farmer. Same thing. Carl Isom McDaniel.
Hello, my name is Carl Isom McDaniel, and I've lived at in Kendall now for 16 years. Along that time, my kids have grown and gone off to college, and now I have grandkids ranging from 14 down to twins at 3. And for the past 6 years, I've been walking to make sure that they walk for at least an hour a day. And we walk on the roads up there, but there's nowhere to go. And unless I get a vehicle big enough to haul all the grandkids and drive 8 miles to a park, there's nowhere for us to go. But along the walks, since I have little ones with me, everybody talks to me. I talk to hundreds of people walking around up there. Every one of them has expressed that we need a park so we can get together, we can start working on things together, and just kind of find a sense of community, which we don't have. Just walking around, people don't really hook up. But yeah, and basically we just need a place to socialize for the people with kids and grandkids and, you know, disabled people to go and just talk. Anyways, thank you.
Thank you. Shorty, I cannot make out your last name.
It's Bjornstead,
Bjarnstad, okay.
Norwegian name. Hey, I'm Shorty Bjornstead, and I live in the Columbia Valley area. Lived up there for about 26 years. Watched the area grow, kind of like Vern said, you know, and we've had a lot of help from you guys in the past and whatnot. But this has been really neat to watch. I have not been involved in this personally, only so many hours a day, and every once in a while I like to stay home and fall in love with my recliner. But it's really neat because this is the lowest and the neatest form of government up there and anywhere in the county, where a group of people got together, seen a need, which in this case was the Park District. They didn't have tons of money. Nobody has any money. So they didn't hire attorneys or architects or engineers or anything. They sat down and put this together themselves. Came up with the legal description, description on the petition, went around, didn't hire anybody to do that, did it themselves. So, and that's because the need is there. So it's going to be kind of neat when you guys approve this. Then we can sit back and watch another form of government where these people that we elected as park commissioners now, they will start from scratch, making a park system to serve our area. So it's pretty basic and pretty simple as far as I'm concerned. And the neat part about it, how many times do you get a group of people that come here that don't ask for something or ask for money? They ain't asking for a dime. They're not, we've gotten to the point where a lot of times we just do things on our own. And this is one of them. So, thanks.
Thank you. John Guza? Okay. Jessica B?
Hello, my name is Jessica B., and I was one of the people working on getting a petition together and trying to get community support and learn about the process of having a park district in our community and what that meant. And I have learned a lot in the past 2 years working with other individuals who live in our community, and I'm really excited to say we got the signatures needed, we created the boundaries, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it on the ballot, hopefully next go around. I'm lucky enough to work in the community in which I live, so I get to see a lot of community members at the East Whatcom Regional Resource Center, and a lot of people do use the land out there to walk their dogs or go for a walk with their kids, but it's just open land. It's not a dog park, it's not a playground, and you can't walk there. And it's very hard to bus there and then bus back home. There's no bus that returns you to your neighborhood. So if a family did get to the East Whatcom Regional Resource Center, they can't even cross the road safely to get back home. And I've been doing some research. They say that having a park in your community provides more regular contact with nature. It's known to offer health benefits and enhance well-being, according to the American Planning Association. And, I mean, to me, a park is more than a playground or just a grassy area. It's a place where, like Shorty said and Carl said, and all of our committee members have said, that folks can casually meet and connect with each other and learn more about each other and have an opportunity to really develop community and a sense of neighborliness. I'd really like to see that in our community, and I'm excited to be here tonight. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you. That's the end of the signups. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of the Columbia Valley Park and Recreation District petition? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. The next item is called a special order of business. We put this ordinance on next, so since you guys are here for the public hearing, we'll get it done early for you. So the ordinance is ordering an election to determine the formation of the Columbia Valley Park and Recreation District. Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and we have a second. Please call the roll.
Oh, can't we have a little discussion?
Oh, sure, you want to discuss?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I just want to say, it is so amazing. I agree completely with what Shorty said, to have a group come up, to have done all the legwork and done everything and come up with something so positive and thank us for approving something that is just so positive. So thank you guys.
Mr. Weimer.
Yeah, I also just wanted to say, you know, I think I've been on the council for over 10 years now, and for the first 5 years, it was always Birch Bay that was dreaming up ideas and coming here and getting stuff passed. But I think Columbia Valley surpassed Birch Bay these days for kind of taking your own agenda and moving stuff forward with or without the government. So I'm glad we can support you today in this effort.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo too. I've been at the Columbia Valley many times, and I'm just really impressed at the sense of community out there. I would actually say in many ways it's probably stronger than many other parts of the community at the moment. There seems to be a lot of energy and a lot of momentum, and I commend you on your latest effort.
I just ditto all the comments, save you the trouble.
Yes, it is amazing that you guys do so much for your community, and you should be commended very, very highly for what you do. Mr. Mann, do you have any comments?
You guys said it all. I'll just leave it there. Thank you for everyone and their work on this.
Okay.
This is weird.
That's Councilmember Mann phoning in from Vermont, so. Okay, so now we will call the roll.
Barbara Brenner,
Yes.
Red Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Ken Mann,
Yes.
Satpal Sidhu,
Yes.
Carl Weimer,
Yes.
That passes unanimously 6-0 with Mr. Donovan excused. Okay, we'll move into the open session. During the open session, audience members will have up to 3 minutes to address the council on any issue that's relevant to county business. Before beginning to comment, please state your name and your topic of interest for the record. And if your last name is complicated, please spell it so our clerk can get it right. Please make sure to speak into the microphone. That's very important. So we will now open the open session. So come on up.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Amy Glasser, and I live in Bellingham now, and there's a couple of comments I'd like to make. The first is regarding the Trump rally that took place on May 6th, I think it was, or the 7th. There was no invoices or bills sent out to Trump, the fairgrounds, City of Linden, and those are the three entities that signed the contract and got into the contract, knowing very well that security was an issue, as it was in all of the other venues that refused to have the Trump rally. So I would like our county council to consider speaking with whomever is necessary to send bills out, and if nothing else, have them say no. I believe it's right for our county not to spend money on things that people know are going to cost a lot of money, and it was a huge amount of money that was spent, and nobody was asked, nobody was allowed to disapprove. It just happened. I know there was things signed, but it just happened. So that's one of my issues, and I'm hoping you can consider sending invoices out. My second issue is I hear that there's a consideration that the county executive would be allowed to have his spending power increased without council members' approval. I don't think a penny more than what he has should be spent without council approval. There is enough going on in this county that people don't feel informed enough about. The idea that even $50,000 might be an acceptable amount to give him, I don't know. I assume everybody here has worked with or knows our homeless population and our hungry population and the people who don't have services. $50,000 could build a lot, could buy a lot, and could feed a lot. And I don't want to have anybody have that kind of power without the council approving it and it being made sure that it's being spent on the people of this community, not security for a Trump rally and not for something that you don't approve of. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, just a moment, Ms. Brenner.
We did request that the bill be sent to the, I'm not particularly interested in Lyndon or whoever the third one was you said. Trump did it, and he got through some legal loopholes, and I just don't think that's right. I think, and he's, not that he doesn't have the money, so I do think he should pay us for it.
Absolutely.
So we did request that.
It was denied.
It was denied. We didn't get anything back.
As far as I knew, the prosecuting attorney or whoever the deputy was sent a notice out to Jack Lowe's that it was, that no invoices were going to be sent out and that everybody would take care of their own bills. That was my understanding.
Did anybody get a copy of that on the council?
I did not, no.
I saw nothing.
That's what I was informed of.
Okay.
So if I'm wrong, that would be great, but I think the community needs to know that our community tried to get that money back. And the fairgrounds, I do think, is responsible. They knew very well what was entailed, and they knew very well how many security would be needed, and they chose to do it without getting approval first. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I am Catherine Waters from Nooksack City. And thank you, council members, for listening to my concerns today. And I want to give a vote of thanks to Irene Morgan and Joy Gaffilin of the Restorative Community Coalition, because they showed me that my depressing experience with an incarcerated, mentally ill loved one is relevant testimony to the painful lack of mental health services in our community. And to add to her testimony, on the day of the Trump rally, all the jail visits were canceled without any notification, and sometimes people drive for 3 hours to come to visit their loved ones, and that day they were all canceled. Our so-called Corrections Bureau is not successful or cost-effective at dealing with marginalized citizens. Isn't it obvious that caging a human being in a solitary cell day after day, 6 to 7 months without a trial or sentencing, exacerbates the mental health problems? Isn't it obvious that releasing destitute homeless citizens out of jail to the street with not even a social worker is a recipe for trouble and recidivism? I beg you, council members, to refuse to include within our comprehensive plan the cost-prohibitive mega jail that voters have turned down in last fall's election. And I beg you to fund effective preventative services, jail diversion options, and re-entry programs, such as the Restore a Life Center that's been painstakingly researched by the Restorative Community Coalition. This is so needed in our community. Mental health requires good habits of social behavior. Basics like doing the dishes and the laundry, working for a living, and resolving conflicts with honor, respect, and dignity is so important for mental health. Mental illness is a health problem, and when mentally ill citizens are framed as criminals, we all suffer the ripple effects of shame, despair, and the bad habits of dependence on being institutionalized. Our neighbor, Skagit County, has a successful program for re-entry after incarceration, so please study their success and bring that to our county. Study the Restorative Coalition's huge report on ways we can serve our community and help the people who have been incarcerated to have a life after that.
30 seconds, please.
We cannot afford to continue violating federal standards of human rights of mentally ill incarcerated citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Could you leave your contact number with us, with clerk?
Good evening. My name is Brad Owens, president of the Northwest Jobs Alliance, also a resident of Whatcom County. And I stand here in favor of a resolution that you folks will be addressing later this evening, initiating comprehensive plan and zoning amendments by amending resolution 2016-009. Thank you very much for your time.
I also am Kathy Waters from Nooksack. This is also regarding the mental health issues, and I agree with the preceding statements made by my sister-in-law. Thank you for the chance to speak on behalf of my godson and others who are mentally ill and incarcerated. My godson is a gifted and articulate young man with a fragile brain chemistry. He has been diagnosed with a mental illness, but he currently has been confined in solitary in the Whatcom County Jail for over 6 months. This has contributed to a noticeable deterioration in his mental health. Reportedly, this is for his, quote, own safety because his illness makes him a target of the other inmates. A protection order exists after a dispute at his mother's home. She has petitioned to have it removed, but she's been denied. If released, he will become homeless and vulnerable. If he reportedly needs the protection of solitary confinement, what will happen once he hits the streets? She is willing to be his overseer and advocate, but is denied that opportunity. Is anyone else willing to step forward? Where's the safety net for those vulnerable, beloved people? The court system seems bent on criminalizing him and others like him. His isolation is detrimental to his mental health. He has refused visits from loved ones. This is more evidence of his mental deterioration. Now, to illustrate my deep concern about the prosecutor's readiness to criminalize mentally ill individuals, I want to tell you about a devastating comment I cannot forget. A dozen or so years ago, a remark was made to me by a Whatcom County prosecutor. It typifies what is still one of the most defeating aspects of our currently punitive justice system's response to mental illness. After someone I love deeply was arrested, the prosecution team met with me as they drew up their what they called a perp profile. I think it's short for a profile of a perpetrator of a crime. In this system, an individual is typecast in order to supposedly expedite justice. My family member was being stereotyped. I had brought to the meeting evidence of this person's character and personal history, plus I wanted to explain his diagnoses. I was cut short by this terse comment, by a prosecutor. Lady, 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 courtroom is theater. We each play our parts. And as far as I'm concerned, may the better liar win. I was stunned. I just slammed my papers down on the table and left the room saying, I will not play your game. We cannot have such a callous response to individuals with mental illness. We must have integrity. The judicial system is seriously overloaded, but we must regard the individual. Our justice system must look beyond incarceration alone. We can foster a
30 seconds,
restorative
please.
community based in truth and, yes, compassion. To be truly mentally ill does not automatically equate with criminality. Let's develop a viable alternative for the mentally ill in our community. Thank you for listening.
Would you leave your contact number?
Good evening, council members. Roger Almskar. I'm a member of the local Building Industry Association and also the Citizens Alliance for Property Rights. I'm here tonight to talk about housing. As many of you know, you've read the articles in the paper from all over the country that Bellingham housing costs are escalating very rapidly, getting to the point where a lot of people with jobs can't afford to buy a house, and finding a rental on a budget level is becoming very difficult too, even though, yes, there are a lot of units under construction. My purpose tonight is to introduce you to a new organization. Isn't that what we needed, another organization? Called the Whatcom Affordable Housing Group. I handed in a letter earlier today, a two-page letter that I'll talk about in a minute, and then a one-page is sort of a detailed press release that tries to explain what our group is all about. We also have the Realtors Association on board. And we put this together about 3 months ago because we were seeing with the housing, I'd call it a crisis in Bellingham, not all over the county, but mainly in Bellingham, that we needed to make sure our voices were heard in this comprehensive plan process, mainly with the city, because frankly, that's where most of the problems are with regulations and policies, not so much the county. It's mainly Bellingham, and that's where most people want to live. So when you look at this handout, you see there are 5 areas of solutions. Land supply, we believe we need more land supply for all kinds of housing, not just big houses on big lots. Housing choices, we need more choices in different styles of houses, sizes. People are talking about tiny houses these days. You'd have a very difficult time finding a lot in Bellingham where you could pay for it and afford to build a tiny house on it. Permit process, as you know, land use processes have become very complicated and a lot of uncertainty and expensive and time consuming. Permission costs, that's a new label. I think it's a good one. That's talking about mainly impact fees and utility fees. Just for example, if you're building a tiny house in Bellingham, which could be 200 square feet for 1 or 2 people, you're going to pay the same $5,000 impact fee to the city park fund that someone building an 8,000 square foot mansion with 5 bathrooms that would pay. Exactly the same. I won't say any more right now. Finally, legal issues. We believe that imposing inclusionary zoning and requiring purchase of transferable development rights is not legal.
30 seconds, please.
Okay, I want to call your attention to the report that I turned in today, 18 pages. I left a copy for all of you. Yes, that's the right one. And let's see here. I think you'll find a lot of good information in there. This was prepared by a person in Bellevue who has a lot of experience in writing on these issues in Central Puget Sound. So I hope you take a good look at it. And I hope you pay attention to our letter about asking for some more time. I know you don't have any more hearings scheduled until August 9th. And we'd like to have another hearing on housing so our consultant could come up and present these findings to you. Now, we cited a reason why we think the time should be extended. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andrew Redding, and because it's always misspelled, the last name is spelled R-E-D-I-N-G with just one D. Thank you. I'm the Issues and Resolutions Chair of the Whatcom County Democrats. I've been delegated by our party chair, Catherine Chambers, to come and speak to you tonight just to convey to you a resolution that was passed by our party at the last monthly meeting of the general membership on July 21st. Have all of you received it? I sent it by email. Yes. And one of the things I just want to note on this is it is very rare that in our proceedings as Democrats, and particularly at an extremely well-attended meeting like this one where there were several endorsements on the agenda, like on the EMS levy and the Greenways levy, both of which were endorsed, by the way. It's very rare that we get unanimity in the Democratic Party on any kind of resolution. And this is one of the rare cases where this has happened. The subject, I forgot to mention the subject, is Council Member Carl Weiner's proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan. And the outcome was that we're all 100% behind wanting to see those approved. We think that would be very much in the best interest for the county. As I said, there are very few things we ever agree on to that extent, and particularly in a pretty packed meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Good evening. My name is Ronna Lurch, and I live in Everson. 2 weeks ago, I was fairly effusive about my appreciation for your work and that I had voted for every one of you here tonight. Tonight, I'm not so thrilled. As 2 weeks ago, I was blindsided by the events that had occurred that day that I didn't know about. I learned that you had succumbed to the threats and gobbledygook language from the suits who appeared before you earlier that day and decided to pull Carl Weimer's amendments from the comp plan and send them back to the Planning Commission. Since then, there's been a plethora of comments attempting to explain this all away with just more gobbledygook, even to the point of evoking the Commerce Clause. So despite thousands of comments asking you to consider not allowing additional heavy fossil fuel industry at Cherry Point, you took the easy, lazy way out and punted it back down the road to the Planning Commission. I didn't elect you to delay, study, and kick the can down the road. I was hopeful that you had sufficiently big brains to handle big issues, even when they might mean taking a risk. I am disappointed. So I'm asking that you set a clear timeline in the resolution that you have before you tonight, which is not in that resolution, for the Planning Commission to consider Carl Weimer's amendments to Chapter 2 regarding the Lummi request for no additional pier and shipment of coal or crude oil at Cherry Point, and dog it to its completion. I would actually prefer that you rescind that decision that you took in executive committee on July 12th. I know that's probably not possible. I would also ask that you drop the gag order for speech about GPT terminal specifically and coal shipments in general. If anybody can speak to this issue, it should be the citizens of the county and not paid lobbyists for the industry. This ruling is done and it is clear. Permit for GPT coal port is denied. Thirdly, realize Carl Weimer's amendments did not come out of the blue, but were timed to coincide with the Corps of Engineers and DNR's decision to not permit this project. They came at exactly the right time. I would imagine they'd been in draft for a while. Fourth, realize that none of the comments or written
30
proposals that have been made
seconds,
to you have anything to do with eliminating any current jobs at Cherry Point Industries. Shipping crude oil will do this without any regard for the workers. That's business. I know you're aware there is a new day dawning when we will have to have a just transition away from fossil fuels and build a more resilient, sustainable community that provides clean, safe jobs. The already decimated herring stock and reduced Chinook salmon runs caused by the existing piers will not be able to survive any additional piers built over their spawning grounds. This is a comprehensive plan that must look to this future and 7 generations to come. I plan to hold you to a moral ethic to honor the land, air, and water and preserve nature's trust. Thank you.
Hi, Sandy Robinson, Birch Bay. I spoke earlier to you all at the Special Committee of the Whole this afternoon, and as I said at that time, I believe a correction's needed to the Council's finalized draft comp plan 2016 document. I mentioned lines on page 272 in the Cherry Point UGA, lines 36, 37, and 38 that contain the language, the site excludes 3 existing aquatic land leases, BP and Tauco, Phillips 66 shipping piers, and 1 proposed aquatic land lease. What I didn't see until the interim between the meetings was another section I'd like to ask to be removed because of factually incorrect information. That's the same section, but on page 273, and that is line 32, 33, 34. It says deepwater access for shipping was a major siting consideration for the 3 major industries currently located at Cherry Point and for the industrial shipping facilities currently being proposed. I did not see that language earlier, and again, it's talking about a proposed shipping facility. As I told you all, I have emails that I supplied to you all from Washington State Department of Natural Resources Commissioner Peter Goldmark, his July 11th letter that he sent to Skip Salen, VP of Project Development for Pacific International Holdings. And according to those email communications and with DNR's Deputy Supervisor for Aquatics and Geology, Megan Duffy, the language stated in our draft 2016 comp plan is not correct. Commissioner Goldmark clearly stated in his July 11 letter, quote, as per my June 6, 2016 letter, the Department of Natural Resources has denied the lease application for Gateway Pacific Terminal Project. Pacific International Holding or its affiliated entities no longer has an application with DNR, and there will be no further consideration of the past application, quote. Ms. Duffy clearly stated in her July 21st, 2016 email that there is no current proposed aquatic land lease for the Gateway Pacific Terminal Project. Regarding your second question, there are no other new, current, or proposed applications for an aquatic lands lease for Cherry Point, quote. I replied to Ms. Duffy to ask for clarification, and I asked, does that also mean there are no old aquatics land lease applications and or old aquatics land use leases for Gateway Pacific Terminal that are still valid? She answered, quote, as per the Commissioner's June 6th and July 11th letters, the application for the Gateway Terminal Project has been denied, and there will be no further consideration of the past application. I feel that there's no reason to have this language in our comp plan. If for some reason the proponent of proposed facilities would like to appeal or something like that, certainly that's their right, but I don't feel that any potential for an appeal is a reason to hold this language in our comp plan, and I feel very strongly about that it should not be included in that comp plan right now, according to what DNR has stated. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excuse me, but nobody's supposed to be clapping no matter what side you're on, because it makes some people feel intimidated from giving their side of what they'd like to say. And as someone who's been intimidated or tried to be by people before, it's not a good thing. We all need to be able to listen to each other. Thank you.
Go ahead.
My name is Riley O'Leary. I live at 2520 Douglas Avenue. I've been living in Bellingham for 4 years. I'm not going to try and persuade you with any sort of rhetoric that I've conjured up. I think Carl Weiner's proposed amendments to Chapter 2 in the comprehensive plan should be supported. I don't think that there should be any reason to have any more exports of coal or fossil fuels going out of Cherry Point. I think it's pretty clear that a lot of us in the community support that notion as well. Really the only opposition I've ever seen is the need for jobs, which I think we also all want for people. It's about finding ways to help transition people from the fossil fuel industry into some other kind of industry, whether it be clean energy or just something else that they've wanted to pursue in their life. So if we could maybe work with them and maybe the Jobs Alliance to find ways to, transition people into jobs, maybe that can be lessen the intensity of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
I'm a business representative for the International Association of Machinists.
Could you get a little closer to the mic, please?
My name is Glenn Farmer. I am a business representative for the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. I represent about 500 people out at Cherry Point, the Intalco facility. We've spent over 15 years trying to keep that place open. We've done grassroots, political, bipartisan support. We spent a lot of time. We've always gone through processes where whatever issue comes up, it's laid out in front of everybody to look at. And we go through that process, and in the end, some decisions are made. We've been lucky to keep that place going. I think Carl Weimer's proposal, there's more to it than is simple, we don't want coal or we don't want oil. I think there are details there that everybody needs to lay out on the table and look at and make a decision. And so we encourage you to send it back to the Planning Commission. And not only that one, but if there's any other out there, send all those too. So I don't know if there is or not. Just hedging my bet. Thanks.
Max Perry, Whatcom County, and I just want to give a balance to some of the other testimonies we've heard about the bad piers out at Cherry Point and so forth. I was out there for 20 years at Intalco, and during those 20 years I've seen one huge herring fishery out there, this was, the tribes were involved in it. There's a lot of people involved in it because of over in Europe, the roe was, something happened to their farm fish over there, and so they were looking for roe, so they caught herring out in the straits between the piers at Intalco and the pier at was Arco at that point. But so there was a lot of herring. They put them in pens, kept them in pens, and they took the roe from the pens, and what they did with the herring, I'm not sure. They probably used it for salmon bait or whatever. Probably for eating too, perhaps. The piers do not hurt the fisheries out there. They do not hurt the problem with the fisheries is the fish are through the rivers and so forth and go out into the ocean, but they never return from the ocean. So you have a declining salmon population. But you do have runs of Chinooks that are record runs in 2014 and 2015. However, they didn't come up to this part of it, but they came up to Columbia and took up to other places. But the piers out at the refineries and in Talco are actually beneficial. You'll see a lot of crab fishing out there. The tribes do a lot of crab fishing there because of the crabs and the piers. It's some attraction to them or some protection for them. So you see that. You see a lot of seals out there. If you go out and look in the bays and around the refineries, you'll see seals that are chasing salmon, eating fish. Seals eat fish. So there's fish there. And I just would, looking at Carl's proposal that for Cherry Point, it's a kind of a death knell for the refineries that are out there because they can't
30
improve
seconds,
any.
please.
They can't increase. If you can't improve your business, you don't last for too long. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Seeing no one, we will close the public, open public session, and we'll move to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, the Whatcom County Finance and Administrative Services Committee met today. We considered items 1 through 5 on the consent agenda. These received a vote of 2-0 with Councilmember Mann excused, and I so move approval.
Okay, we have a motion to, for the consent agenda, items 1 through 5. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Donovan excused.
Mr. Chair, the next item was an ordinance amending the Whatcom County Code 3.08 purchasing system. This item was discussed in committee, some suggestions made, and it was held in committee.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have any discussion?
Can we discuss it?
I just asked if you.
I mean, he said he was holding it.
It was held in committee.
So can we discuss stuff that's held in committee? I don't remember.
Oh, you're holding it?
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I misunderstood you.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay, so that's held.
It's been a long year. All right, the next item was an ordinance amending the 2016 Whatcom County budget, 12th request in the amount of $190,000, $190,003. This was discussed and received a vote of 2-0 with Councilmember Mann excused, and I so move to the council for approval.
Okay, we have a motion to approve this ordinance. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Red Brown?
Yes.
Barry Buchanan?
Yes.
Ken Mann?
Yes.
Satpal Sidhu?
Yes.
Carl Weimer?
Yes.
Barbara Brenner?
Yes.
That passes 6-0 with Councilmember Donovan excused.
Mr. Chair, the next item was an ordinance amending the Whatcom County Code Title II Administration and Personnel to add language related to an increase in the number of Whatcom County Council districts. This was discussed in committee and it was held pending some review of the language of how we would select planning commission members going forward.
Okay, that's held.
That's held. Next item was a resolution related to the sale of surplus property and setting a date for a public hearing pursuant to Whatcom County Code 1.10. And for members of the audience, if you want to pick up a used truck, this is where you can come and bid on the county's surplus. This item received a vote of 2-0 with Councilmember Mann excused, and I so move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion? Ms. Brenner?
Yeah, I have a problem with the way it was sent to us. I did get an email from Eric in Public Works, and I appreciated his comments, but they were comments that I already knew, and probably what I need to do, and I didn't have time today, between when we spoke in the meeting and tonight to do it, but I give you my word, I'll get together with Eric and see if he can come up with a way to send this stuff to us with more information that I need. But I'm not supporting this.
Okay. Other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That passes 5-1 with Councilmember Donovan excused.
Mr. Chair, the next item is request authorization for the county executive to enter into a contract between Whatcom County and Flow Analytics for GIS and data management assistance for the 2016 and 2017 Birch Bay Watershed and Aquatic Resource Management District annual fee roll in the amount of $49,950. In this case, the council was acting as the Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors. It received a vote of 2-0 with Councilmember Mann excused, and I so move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion before us. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Councilmember Donovan excused.
Mr. Chair, the next item, we are also acting as the Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors, and it was a request authorization for the county executive to award bid number 16-28 and enter into a contract for the Marietta Structures Removal Project to the lowest bidder, J.T. Munchner, in the amount of $72,695. This also received a vote of 2-0 with Councilmember Mann excused, and I so move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion before us. Anyone have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Councilmember Donovan excused.
Mr. Chair, there was nothing else from Finance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown. From the Special Committee of the Whole, from this afternoon, we have before us a resolution initiating comprehensive plan and zoning amendments by amending Resolution 2016-009. Do we have a motion?
I would move approval.
Mr. Weimer has moved approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Mann has seconded. So we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Ms. Brenner.
Well, in addition to the issues I brought up today, one of my biggest issues is I saw this for the first time. People can say this has been going on for over a year. I'm very much into detail, and the devil is always in the detail. And this is very detailed. We got it last Thursday. I went through the whole thing and, made lots of changes. And then we were pretty much told today in committee that this is to just send it. And I'm not comfortable just sending it. So I'm not comfortable with what's in there, and I'm not comfortable with sending it at this point. So I'm voting no.
Okay. Mr. Weimer.
Yes, I'd like to offer an amendment, and the amendment would be to add an extra, be it further resolved, which would read, be it further resolved that the County Council requests the Planning Commission act on this amendment as soon as possible and provide their deliberations and report no later than January 15th, 2017.
I second that.
Okay, we have an amendment put forward, and we have a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Councilmember Donovan excused. Now we're back to the main motion. Ms. Brenner?
Well, even though I'm not going to support it, I would do like what was asked of us, that we send every configuration that was requested by the council members, not just the one that's in there. And can I try and add, I would like to add the changes that I wanted to see in there that nobody wanted to talk about today. Can I do that too?
You're free to make a motion.
That's my motion, to send all the changes that have been proposed by the council members and anything that will be proposed in the next day or two. 2 days. Give me 2 days to get it all done and on.
Could you clarify your motion? Are you talking about the entire comprehensive plan?
No, oh, no. Isn't this about
just
chapter
talking
2?
about-
I thought
Well, I'm not clear what your motion is.
I'm talking about chapter 2.
Just chapter 2.
Yeah, I'm not talking about every single thing that everybody said on everything.
Okay, do we have a second?
I have a question. Is this
Did you
about,
second? Did you second?
oh, I second that so we can discuss it. I think the chapter 2, or are we talking about Cherry Point UGA?
That's chapter 2.
All of it?
Well, it's a lot of, it's part of chapter 2.
It's part of chapter 2. That's what I'm trying to clarify. What we are seeking to review is only the Cherry Point UGA language, not the whole chapter 2.
So now I'm confused. How does that differ from the main motion to approve this resolution as written? Well, as amended by Mr. Weimer, but how does, what's the, what other material would you like to include, Ms. Brenner?
Just more on the Cherry Point UGA that I had worked on, and I didn't write it all up because I had it, with my little dog ear stuff all in here, and I was going to bring them up and we were going to vote on them, and then we were told we're just supposed to recommend it or not recommend it, so nobody wanted to hear my amendments. So I would like to have all proposed amendments from all council members sent as part of the package to the Planning Commission as part of the resolution.
With regard to the Cherry Point UGA?
With regard to the Cherry Point UGA, yes.
Can I make a suggestion that every council member has the ability, in addition to the resolution, send what they feel about all the wording, how they would like to change or whatever. I think that's one way of giving everybody opportunity to do that.
I'll actually support this going to the Planning Commission if I can get my stuff in. You guys wouldn't let me do it today, so.
I am actually saying that you should be, but
I want it as part of the resolution, to be able to have all this stuff,
But
in the next week or whatever. No one else said they had any changes that they wanted to make. I did, and I wanted to do them, and I was told this isn't the place.
Mr. Brown?
I have no problem with Ms. Brenner or anybody else submitting proposed language changes for consideration by the Planning Commission at the next meeting. I am concerned about setting a precedent where the council would vote to use its weight to forward changes for the Planning Commission when we actually haven't even seen them.
Ms. Brenner?
I feel like I'm being punished because you guys wouldn't let me do it in committee, and I was going to do it in committee.
Ms. Brenner, I'm more than happy to entertain them if you want to submit them for us. At the next council meeting, we can consider these at the next council meeting and forward them as well. I'm certainly prepared.
It would still be part of the resolution?
Well, I think you'd have to be making it as a separate resolution because we're going to vote on this one tonight.
Well, I'm not going to support this one then.
Okay.
I'll support the next
But
one.
it's very difficult to vote to support something we haven't seen.
Well,
yes.
This was supposed to be all of ours, no matter whether anybody else likes them or not. The ones that I proposed in committee when we were working on it, I don't think I got my way on any of them anyway. But we still said we were going to send all council members proposals. And these are part of mine. I mean, I'll send it right like it is. I won't even put it in, I'll just send it as dog-eared stuff. I've got it right here.
Any other discussion on Ms. Brenner's motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
That fails 1 to 5 with Mr. Donovan excused. So we're back to the main motion of the amended resolution that Mr. Weimer's, we've already approved his amendment. Any further discussion on the main motion? Mr. Brown?
If I may, I just want to read something to make clear my views on how I've approached this issue, or the conclusions I've come with this. I've been concerned that some people across the political spectrum believe that the county government has broad powers to regulate international trade. And the truth is we don't. Our powers are actually very limited, and we can't override state or federal law. We also can't take away an existing permit for any facility of any nature in the county. The latest version of this proposal has been revised from the original. The previous versions asked to ban all fossil fuel exports, which, because it wasn't defined, by definition included refined and unrefined fossil fuel exports. Now, this would have shut down Cherry Point because Cherry Point is already a significant exporter of fossil fuels. It is the principal supplier, I think maybe even the only supplier, of jet fuel to the city of Vancouver, for example. It supplies jet fuel, and to SeaTac it provides jet fuel down into Oregon. It also provides calcined coke around the world. So to propose that we stop them from exporting fossil fuels would have in fact created, or certainly created, the fear amongst the people out there and the contractors that those families were going to lose their source of income. The other reason I was concerned about that is it wouldn't have changed the demand for those products. What it simply would have done is shifted the production of those products overseas into markets where the environmental controls are much less regulated. We would have seen an increase in fossil fuel shipping in Puget Sound because places like Vancouver would have been forced to buy their jet fuel from places like Asia, and they come through Puget Sound to get them. They come through, what's the strait? The Strait of Juan de Fuca.
Yep.
They come through the Strait of Juan de Fuca, which would expose Whatcom County to the same risk as, or greater risk, because it would have increased the tanker traffic. I'd much rather see fossil fuels, if we have to use them, I'd much rather see them refined on US soil by US workers under US environmental controls with a minimum of transportation necessary to get them to market. I want to make it clear, I'm also a very strong believer in climate change, and I'm a very strong believer that it is a man-made problem. I make no bones about that. And I believe we're going to find common ground on how we deal with these issues, but we have to listen and work together as a community. And for that reason, I'm supporting pushing this to the Planning Commission for a full public hearing and a full public involvement.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I agree with Mr. Brown, and at the same time, I want to give my perspective. I did read this statement earlier in the committee. I would like to read this again for the benefit of all the people here and for the record. That let me briefly state my background. I'm an engineer, and I have worked in petroleum industry for more than 20 years. My son is an engineer at BP Cherry Point for past 8 years. I understand the petroleum industry, its place in our economy, and its place in our community. For past several weeks, we listened to arguments like, are you for petroleum or are you against it? Or, are you for saving the environment or are you against it? As I analyze these arguments from both sides, I can clearly see that the issue is not petroleum versus environment. It is all about our need for energy to sustain our lifestyle. Energy can come from running water, wood, coal, petroleum, nuclear, sun, wind, or tidal waves, or other forms. We as a society need to choose what forms of energy are best for our use, for our environment, for sustainability and affordability. The best form of energy, which is most practical and efficient to use, as we know of today, is electricity, which can be produced from any fuel, like running water, like wood, coal, petroleum, nuclear, sun, wind, or tidal waves. And I just want to remind you, electricity, as we know, is just about 100 years old. For many centuries, we used running water and wood as a resource for energy, and then came the coal to make steam, and there was the steam power was the king. Then we discovered electricity. Later, about a century ago, petroleum came along and opened many new possibilities for humans to use energy. And then we discovered nuclear energy. Now we have learned how to harness the energy from sun, wind, and tidal waves, which does not pollute the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the land we grow our food from. I fail to understand what is the harm in taking steps to transition to better options as humans have done from time to time for sake of future generations. To me, petroleum is a valuable resource, but it is limited in its availability. This is something which will be part of our energy mix for many decades. Wouldn't it be smart to use this limited resource wisely and sparingly so that we can benefit from it most and for the longest time? How do we use petroleum? We take it out of the ground, we clean it and burn it away like there is no tomorrow. We actually go to wars to get more of it so that we can burn it even faster. How come we stopped using wood as a fuel? Because we learned better ways to use wood. It is quite stupid to cut forest and burn it away one tree at a time much faster than we can grow them. We learned that half of our lungs are hanging out there on the trees because we breathe what trees give out. Why don't we use nuclear energy? Because we saw what happened at 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and Fukushima. We learned our lesson. I'm not against petroleum. I'm against irresponsible use of a valuable God-given resource by burning it away like there is no tomorrow. I believe petroleum should be $500 a barrel. This product will thrive economically at this price by using it sparingly to make things which we cannot otherwise make. And we will extend the life of this resource. What does it matter what fuel my car uses? All I need is mobility. If Scotty can beam me up all the time, heck, I don't even need a car. Never mind the fuel. It is ridiculous to argue that petroleum is the only fuel to use for our cars. All we need is something which is affordable, which does not pollute our air, our water, and our land. I think petroleum does not quite fit this bill. What's wrong with this picture? We all have our cars which run on electricity, but its seats, the body, and tires are made from petroleum. Let us be smart to use the God-given bounties on our planet. I'm not against industry at Cherry Point. I'm for a time-bound transition to better energy alternatives available to us. We must create and develop better options for our kids and grandkids and their kids and their grandkids. How do we do that? Certainly not putting our head in sand and ignore all the real possibilities in front of us. The only constant in life is change. Let's make this change for better. The changes proposed by Councilmember Weimer deserve a conversation. Let us get to the facts and cut out the emotions and political scores. We need to hear a constructive discussion from the industry, the residents alike on both sides. Yes, I agree that there is a good case to revise the wording proposed on the Cherry Point UGA to reflect the reality on ground and its short-term versus long-term impacts on our community, our state, and our country. Thank you.
Thank you. So do we have any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, seeing one.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, I just want to make sure that if I do put this together in the format, that it will be part of what gets sent to the Planning Commission as an extra part of that resolution in 2 weeks, whether you agree with it or not. It's not, according to what we just were told what we agreed to do, is that we would send anything that was from the council members. So whether you agree with my amendments or not, I would like to know I'm not just wasting my time.
I think we just voted not to do that, but
No, you voted to do it in 2 weeks. Or you
No.
said you'd do it in 2. Okay, fine.
Mr. Brown?
Mr. Chair, my interpretation of the vote was we voted not to do it tonight, but Ms. Brenner, of course, is perfectly entitled to bring up something for consideration in 2 weeks.
For consideration.
Well, through the same process that we all go through.
Well, no, this process said anything that was already proposed will go there.
Ms. Brenner, I'm certainly willing to give you the time to consider your ideas.
I'm going to do it. I just would like to know that it's going to go there whether you agree with it or not. It's not about that.
I can't vote in favor of something I haven't read.
Well, you kind of did, because you already said we're going to send stuff that you didn't agree with.
Mr. Weimer?
Yeah, I think when we had this discussion a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about forwarding on all the proposed amendments, because I think Mr. Donovan had one, and I think you had a couple that were already kind of in the works. And I'd be glad to amend the resolution to do that, but I'm with Mr. Brown. I don't want to open it up for anything that's written in the next 2 weeks to go forward. I think the reality of the Planning Commission process is that once they start deliberating on this, anybody in the community, including yourself, can provide them any information you want. And coming from a council member, it certainly would hold probably more weight than coming from someone else.
Mr. Sadhu?
I have a suggestion that why don't we create an addendum in the next meeting and send it as an addendum? Why stop this right now? And
I'm fine with that.
I mean, you're totally welcome to bring it up in the next meeting, and maybe Mr. Donovan will be here as well. And if we decide something additional wording, we can always forward it as an addendum to the resolution we sent before.
That's what I was going to.
Yeah.
We can consider at our next meeting amendments to this resolution from other council members.
As I understand, Planning Commission is not taking it up in next week. I mean, you know.
No, I know that. I just wanted it to be the stuff that's coming from the council, because that's what I heard you folks say you were going to do. And I would have had it all nice and pretty if I knew we were going to do that, which, again, we just kind of, I got shut down in committee. I would have spent my time after committee doing it, getting it done.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution, say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
That passes 5-1 with Mr. Donovan excused. So next is resolution accepting the Whatcom County Coordinated Water System Plan update. We discussed this today in the Committee of the Whole, and we had a 4-2 vote, I believe. No, it was
5-1.
Yeah, no, 4-1.
4-1.
Because we didn't have Ken.
Right.
4-1 to recommend approval. So I would so move.
Second?
Ms. Brenner?
Well, we need to discuss this because we were given sort of incorrect information from Gary Stoika from Public Works, and he's not here right now. But he was asked specifically what the attorney he works with, the county attorney he works with, thought of using the the word sovereign, and he seemed to imply that The attorney didn't have a problem with it, and that was the main reason we held this thing for 2 weeks. And we just got this letter. I'm going to read it into the record because it's not very long. It's from the attorney, the county chief civil deputy prosecuting attorney who works with Public Works. Dear council members, I'm sending this to clarify why I prefer the term, quote, federally recognized Indian tribes to federally recognized sovereign governments. I believe the use of the term sovereign without qualifiers, such as dependent sovereign or domestic dependent sovereign, is misleading, suggesting a broader scope of sovereignty than actually exists for the tribes. Tribal sovereignty is a uniquely limited sovereignty. At the same time, I'm not inclined to use the term dependent sovereign or domestic dependent sovereign as used in judicial opinions because it suggests dependency with associated connotations that are not helpful. Thus, my preferred default is, quote, federally recognized Indian tribe or tribes, end of quote, as it is accurate and avoids both the unqualified use of sovereign and the unpleasant connotations associated with the other term. So we didn't get accurate information, which was all we were waiting for 2 weeks.
So let me give a little chronology of this process that we did after, it was actually a month ago. It was,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, a month.
I met with Mr. Gibson and we discussed these very same points. And after I had met with him, I had met with the tribal chair who preferred the sovereign language. And so when I reported back to Gary, I told him that what the tribe's preferences were, that they would like to have their comments stand. So when the draft that's in our packet came back to us, that's how it came back to us, with all of those, the comments from the tribe were incorporated. So I just assumed that Gary had worked it out with legal and it was not going to be a problem. So I don't know where we go now.
I think we got the wrong attachment in our packet. I don't think it's correct.
That could be a different version, but.
Mr. Chair, my concern and what triggered my debate on this a couple of weeks ago is I don't think the county government has ever really sat down and come to an agreement as to how do we address our neighbours in the Lummi Peninsula. And I think if we need to hold this to consider changing the way we've traditionally addressed them, then I'm okay with that. And if we want to stick with the way we've traditionally addressed them in this particular case and deal with that issue on a more permanent basis going forward, I'm also okay with that as well.
Mr. Chair, I move we hold this in committee until we get clarification of whether we even have the right document that we're working on, that what was supposed to come to us from Public Works, because I don't think we do.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to hold in committee. I assume you mean back to committee of the whole? That's where it came from.
Yeah, to come back at our next county council meeting too, not to hold it very long.
Discussion? Mr. Weimer?
I'm going to vote against the amendment. I think this is only informational, this section that talks about what we're calling them, so I don't think it's all that important one way or another, so I'm fine with it as it is.
Yeah, I am too as well. Ms. Brenner?
Well, I'm not a legal mind, but I remember when we first heard what the concern was, and it was stated by our legal staff that we at least owe our legal staff the time to tell. I mean, nothing got changed. Nothing changed. And I know that some of that stuff was changed. So I just feel like this is being snuck in here, and I don't think it's proper to even vote on something like this. This isn't it wasn't what we talked about. Why get a legal opinion at all?
I certainly don't believe it's been snuck in here.
Oh, I do.
I think there's certainly strong feelings on a couple of different parties on this, and I think we need to work through those, but I don't think anybody's snuck anything in.
Ms. Brenner?
You're absolutely right. I should never assume anything, one of the 4 agreements. I have no idea. I just know that it's not what we talked about, and nothing's been changed at all. And there was a lot of concern about it, so why bother getting an opinion from our attorney if we don't even give it an opportunity to find out if there's any validity to his opinion? I mean, what's
Mr.
the
Chair,
point?
can I jump in?
Yes, Mr. Mann.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to answer Ms. Brenner's question there. I agree with her. We had a bit of discussion about this last time. My main concern was not the exact name that we used one way or the other. It was the fact that we hadn't communicated to the tribe on this important issue that we were rejecting their input, and we just ignored it essentially. And I thought that was just essentially an impolite maneuver on our part, and I'm very grateful for our chair, Mr. Buchanan, for reaching out to the tribe and talking to our attorney and making sure there was open-minded communication. And if he's okay going forward with this particular language and how we refer to the tribe, then I'm going to be fine with it too. The other question Ms. Brenner raises about whether this is the incorrect document that's part of our package is totally separate. So I would appreciate some clarification on that if there's any way to get it.
Well, we don't have anybody here.
Mr. Hutchings is here.
Oh, there he is.
John Hutchings, Public Works. My recollection is that the version that you are contemplating tonight is the same version that was put before you a number of weeks ago. You're saying no, because the reality is that okay, I'm going to back up because apparently something has changed. I don't understand, so I stand corrected.
Yeah, I could show you the...
Okay. Fair enough. So, my 2 cents, let's get it straightened out before you vote.
Yes.
So, Ms. Brenner's motion to send back to committee is, any further discussion?
No.
You can keep that.
Okay, all those in favor of holding a committee, say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
No. So that's
4 to 2.
4 to 2. I keep wanting to do everything with sevens. So that passes 4 to 2.
To 2, who else besides Carl voted against?
Carl and
Oh, you did too, okay.
I. With Mr. Donovan excused. So we'll bring that back at our next meeting.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, I really would like for us to establish once and for all a clear way of addressing our very good neighbours and make sure we use that consistently throughout all of county government.
Yes.
So that's my intent, primary intent in holding this.
Ms. Brenner?
Well, this is not any kind of attack on the tribes in any way. I have a lot of respect for them. I also have a lot of respect for what our function is supposed to be and the words that we use. So I think it's important.
Okay. We'll put that one to bed. We're moving on to council appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. The first one is appointment to the Sumas Everson Nooksack Flood Subzone Advisory Committee. We have one applicant, Ed Boscher, and we are acting as the Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors. Do I have a motion to appoint?
Move approval.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Donovan excused. Second appointment is an appointment to the two appointments to the jail stakeholder work group, one county or small city resident living outside the city of Bellingham. The applicant for that is Howard Hill Cummings. We'll take the other one is one resident from the city of Bellingham, and the applicant is Kelly Carroll. Do I have a motion to appoint?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
We can approve by acclamation both of them, right? Okay.
Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Donovan excused. The next one's a little trickier. This is a confirmation of all members appointed to the jail stakeholder group. We don't have a list, so I don't know who, other than the ones we've already approved or confirmed. But we do have an issue with the small cities. And if you remember, in our last meeting, we amended the resolution to ask the small cities to provide one mayor and one council member. They chose to put forward two mayors. So I wanted this body to review that decision and to see if we are amenable to another amendment to that resolution to change that makeup, or do we want to send that back to them to fulfill our original request? Mr. Weimer.
I guess I had a question about that, because it said that this idea of two mayors came from the Small Cities Caucus, which my understanding is made up of the mayors.
Yes.
And we were real interested in getting both the administrative function and the legislative function covered, which is why we wanted a council member. And I was kind of surprised with 40-plus council members, nobody was interested. So my question was no council members interested, or did the mayors not even ever ask the councils and just decided they'd prefer two mayors?
I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I can't support it until we get an answer to that.
Ms. Brenner?
Well, yeah, I agree. We need a better clarification on that. And also, this thing has morphed. I think we could solve all their problems by not increasing their representation and decreasing the city, the county. Too many politicians are on this thing instead of what I call direct jail stakeholders. So I would really like to, I can't support it the way it is either.
So do we have a motion to take a specific action? Or do we just want to get back a hold of the Small City Caucus and tell us to give them their rationale? Is that acceptable?
I have another question, if I may. So do we not have an applicant from the Lamy Indian Business Council and Nooksack Tribal Council? Or we do and we just haven't put the names?
That's why I asked for the list.
We have not heard. I thought Barry might have heard back from the tribes.
I hadn't heard either.
I can try to follow up with them tomorrow.
Okay.
Hopefully
I
between
mean, the
now and the next
challenge
meeting.
with the Nooksack, frankly, is that they're such a small tribe, it's just very hard for them to, there's just a much smaller number of people available to serve in any role than a lot of the other groups in the community.
Okay. Ms. Brenner?
Well, I would like us to table it and maybe open up the discussion of maybe we could cut back on the committee makeup by have one county council member, one city council member. That would remove two more, and then I don't think we'd have to do anything different with the small cities if we did that.
Well, I support going back to the small cities. I don't support changing the makeup.
And I support that question too.
Yeah.
But it seems
I guess
odd-
the
it
question is,
seems-
do we want to just get rationale, or do we want to just say we're really interested in having that two perspectives? Or a little of both? That's Mr. Weimer.
My preference was we go back to them and say we really want the two perspectives, so please try to find us a city council member.
Yeah, that's what we'll do then. Okay, so we will hold this over. The next one is appointment of members to serve on the pro and con statement committees for the EMS levy measure. And we have a red page.
And, Mr. Chair, if I may, I spoke to Ryan Provencher just before the council meeting, and he's withdrawn his application.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah, that almost is exact then.
do we have any nominations?
Sorry, I wanted to know, are we supposed to Put 3 people on each or 2 people? 3 people, okay.
Can't have more than 3?
No.
Oh.
Mr. Chair, I will nominate Marissa Beamsberger, Bill Boyd, and Erica Work.
So you're gonna, those 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay. Discussion, Ms. Brenner.
Well, I'd like to nominate all of them. I'd like Rob Roy Graham to be on.
I'll second that.
We can't have 2 motions and 2 seconds at the same time, so,
I thought that was just another nomination. of a
Yes,
missing
it's an
person.
additional nomination.
okay.
So maybe we want to do a vote.
So are you happy with that friendly amendment, Mr. Brown?
I'm happy to nominate everybody for the sake of getting it on the
Well,
floor.
that's
Okay.
what we
Yeah.
usually do.
Get them on the floor.
Then that's what we'll do. So Marissa, Bill, Rob Roy, and Erica are nominated. So we'll just go that way to this way? Sure. So,
Okay, I will have Marissa, Bill, and Erica.
Marissa, Bill, Rob Roy.
Marissa, Bill, and Erica.
Can we have you use the last names? That's how we have them on our list. It's going to help us keep
Okay,
track.
let's start over.
Let's start over. Go ahead.
Okay. Marissa Beamsberger, Bill Boyd, and Erica Work.
Bamesberger, Boyd, Graham.
Bamesberger, Boyd, and Work.
Bamesberger, Boyd, and Work.
Bamesberger, Boyd, and Work.
Okay, so.
And then, do you
And Ken.
want to give Ken a chance?
Oh, Ken, sorry. I didn't see you sitting there, buddy.
Didn't
Are
see
you
him
there?
sitting there.
Mr. Mann?
Yeah, sorry, I had the mute button on. I was yelling, what about me?
Yeah. Like I said, we just didn't see you sitting there, so.
Yeah, I heard you. I was laughing. I have to go with first name. So Marissa, Erica, and Patricia.
What?
Oh, because she volunteered for both committees.
Oh, did she not get nominated? I missed that part. Okay.
She's on the other one.
Patricia Dunn.
No. Oh, whatever.
So Mr. Brown accepted nomination of all of them, so it would include her.
Yeah.
So yes, you can vote for her.
Okay, yeah. So Marissa, Erica, and Patricia is my votes.
Okay. So the tally is 3 people got 4 votes, and that's Marissa Bamesberger, Bill Boyd, and Erica Work. Now we have the con committee. We have 3 applicants.
I nominate all 3 of them.
Okay, and for Ken, for your benefit, that's Ray Barbabo, Carl Appiano, and Patricia Dunn. She volunteered
Got
for
it.
both. Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second. Can we just do this by
Acclamation.
acclamation,
Yeah,
since there's
only
only 3?
Since there's only 3, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all's in favor of those 3 for this committee, signify with aye.
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 Opposed? That passes unanimously. Okay, so now we are at appointment of members to serve on the pro and con statement committees for the proposal to form the Columbia Valley Park and Recreation District.
Yeah, that's an easy one. Yeah, I move we vote yes. Is that what we do? I don't know. Let's just do it. This is something really nice we can do today.
There's only one problem, there's no names.
No, this is just to set it up. This isn't
No,
about,
these are the names. There's, for the pro committee, there's Richard Whitson and Rebecca Boonstra, and we don't have anyone for the con committee. We've tried,
Oh.
but so far we haven't had any names submitted for that, so.
how much longer do we have?
I believe after we do this tonight, I'll pass everything on to Debbie. She'll probably make one more.
And then it's all hers.
Try, and then.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I move approval.
Okay, I second. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes 6-0 with Councilmember Donovan excused. Last appointment is executive appointment of Lindsay Karras and Chi Na Kim Stoen to the Whatcom County Public Health Advisory Board. Do we have a motion to appoint?
I move a confirmation of the,
Oh,
these
yeah,
are
yeah.
the executives.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Donovan excused. Now we're at introduction. We have 5 items. Do we have a motion to introduce?
I move introduction.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay, thank you.
Somebody.
We have a motion and a second to introduce. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Excuse me.
Aye.
What?
We need to clarify for the record on number 4 that includes the items in the green packet that came over from Planning and Development Services this morning.
The lavender thing?
Yeah.
It was green,
No,
actually.
it was
It's-
green. It was
green?
those,
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
I
what
think-
about the lavender stuff?
The lavender stuff was the findings, which is already included in the ordinance.
already-
This is just the stuff
Okay.
that we need to make sure.
Yeah, this item includes some revisions that,
Yeah.
Right,
that we looked at earlier today.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so all those in favor of introducing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0 with Mr. Donovan excused. Other committee reports? I don't think we had any committees today. Other business items? Ms. Brenner?
No, this isn't business.
Okay. Then council member updates.
Well, I'd just like to point out that we all received these T-shirts for Kilowatt Kitty.
Why don't you put one on and model it?
Well, let me come to that point in a minute. I want to acknowledge and congratulate Sustainable Connections and the other organisations that have been pursuing a $5 million prize for energy conservation. And I give my hats off to all of them. The only question I have is why did we get such a large supply of 3XL? And who on the council is expected to wear those?
I'm working on it.
So why do you have it then?
Well, I just surprised there were 4 3XLs given to us, and that's the only thing that took let's just say, took a bit of the shine off the art.
Somebody could wear it as a dress. You could give it to a female who could wear it as a dress.
Other council member updates? Mr. Mann, are you having a good time?
I am. I just want to acknowledge staff for doing all the work to get this teleconference capacity taken care of, and just thank all you council members for picking up the slack while I'm not there. I really do appreciate all your hard work.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
You
Mann.
should see the cardboard cutout we have sitting in for you.
So you know what? I might have to send you one.
Yeah.
So we're gonna need you again in 2 weeks.
No problem. This is a top priority.
That's right.
Okay.
He's gone.
Okay,
Mr.
so
Mann, you'll be pleased to know that even while just your phone was at the desk, you were still getting all the handouts.
So I don't have anything. Ms. Brenner, you?
I wanted to show everybody this. It's a book about 100 years at the Northwest Washington Fair. And it's got beautiful commentary and pictures, and I'm donating, they are donating this to the council office so everybody gets to see it. And if anybody wants to come in and see it, you can come in and see it too. It's really neat.
Okay. No, nothing.
Nothing? Anything else for the good of the order? Seeing nothing, we are adjourned.
Now that was for the good of the order.